Hello everyone, Jacob here. We've been talking about 간접화법, and before we move on to another structure, different structures, I want to actually just do a quick review lesson about this 간접화법, and then we'll move on, I promise. So first we talked about 뭐뭐 하다고, 뭐뭐 하다고 하다 in English. And in English, we have actually two structures that you can use to say this, 뭐뭐 하다고 하다. The first one is to say that plus a full sentence, okay? If you watched the first video, you'll remember that we talked about this structure. But there's actually another way to say 뭐뭐 하다고 하다. You can also say to tell someone that plus a full sentence, all right? So both of these structures are used to talk about 뭐뭐 하다고 하다, okay? What else did we see during the 간접화법 video lessons? We talked about 뭐뭐 하라고 하다, 뭐뭐 하라고 하다, all right? And again, with this structure in Korean, there are actually two structures you can use in English. The first one, to tell someone plus to verb, all right? To tell someone plus to verb, or to ask someone plus to verb. So you can either use tell or you can use ask. The meaning is a little bit different, but basically both of these structures are used to talk about 뭐뭐 하라고 하다. All right, so we talked about 하다고 하다, we talked about 하라고 하다, we also talked about 뭐뭐뭐 해달라고 하다, okay? 뭐뭐뭐 해달라고 하다. And in this case, actually, we're going to use the same structure, to ask someone plus to verb. So let me just write that one more time so that it's clear. To ask someone plus to verb. Okay, in Korean, sometimes to ask someone to verb can be 하라고 하다. Sometimes to ask someone to verb can mean 해달라고 하다. So it kind of just depends on the situation. All right. What else did we look at? We looked at 뭐뭐 하냐고 하다. 뭐뭐 하냐고 하다. Okay. So this is actually to talk about questions that other people ask. And in English, you have to use to ask someone if plus a full sentence, to ask someone if plus a full sentence. This is for a yes or no question, but if you want to talk about a question that someone asked, and if that question starts with a question word, then you have to use to ask someone plus a question word, like where, who, when, question words. Okay, so these two structures are used to talk about 뭐뭐뭐 하냐고 하다. Okay, let's keep going on. Let's keep moving on. If we go down, let's see, I'm not going to go down too much because we just have one last one to talk about. So let me just make a little bit of space. The last one that we talked about, what was it? It was 뭐뭐뭐 하자고 하다. 뭐뭐뭐 하자고 하다. And how do we say this in English? Basically, to suggest that plus a full sentence. To suggest that plus a full sentence. Or you could also say to suggest plus an ing verb. And both of these are ways of translating 뭐뭐뭐 하자고 하다. 뭐뭐뭐 하자고 하다. Alright, so now we've really gone over all of the 간접화법 structures in English. I've reviewed them, so you should be kind of a master at using all of these different structures. Alright, I hope that you enjoyed this series of videos, and I really hope that you start using these structures more when you're speaking, because it's good to use direct speech, 직접화법, in certain situations, but I would say that most of the time when we're speaking we use these structures. So you really have to become comfortable using them and try and use them a lot when you're speaking. Alright, I hope you understood, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.